very, very important slide. I think, like, if we want to, uh, not just talk, but create these spawn cities. I think this is the important slide that we need to understand clearly to understand the governing structure. If you want to achieve scale, if you want to build, create, these big spawn cities with a lot of these open spaces, lakes, ponds, this is the governing structure, I think, that needs to be uh, created and followed at the state level. If you look at it, right, let's take a place like, for example, a city like Hyderabad, where I live, like Amirpet or something. At that place, we have to start with a pilot project, whether it could be a green building or uh, creating these permeable roads, or the swales, what we are talking about, or some kind of a water park. So this is at the site, like, the pilot project. And this pilot project has to be led by, the local community, which is the civil society, uh, the citizens living in that neighborhood, and any NGOs, any NGOs, or the public-private developers who are developing this kind of rainwater harvesting pits or something like that. So this is the at the site level. And at the community level is where, like, you need to have this the citizen NGOs, the developers, and the water warriors. The idea is that we need to have, at each community, at each project level, we should have a chief sustainable officer kind of a person who can kind of monitor, manage. So that is where we need to create this kind of an army of people who can monitor, manage these projects. And that is at the community level. And then comes the city level. At the city level, right, you have these municipal corporations, the smart city SPVs, the water bodies, and and the municipal corporation, the greater municipal corporations. There at the city level, what we need is some kind of a monitoring and having the data points. For example, when there is a heavy rain, how many flooding points we have observed in the city? For example, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi. So at the city level, we need to have the data. And once we implement these projects, and then, like, we should have a feedback loop. Again, next time the heavy rain happens, are we able to reduce the number of flooding points? Is it like, were we able to achieve our goals? And what projects worked, what projects did not work? That kind of a feedback, it has to happen at the city level. And they need to kind of continually adapt, connect, increase the, then areas that they are implementing this kind of a projects at different communities. So that is at the city level. And at the state level is, you have they are the ones who have to release the budgets. I mean, spawn cities, the concepts to implement all this, yeah, you need money. So definitely at the state level is where you have to release the budget, and they have to do the capacity building of creating this kind of the new concepts, whether building the roads, green buildings, certifying the green buildings, then moving towards renewable energy, improving the public transportation. So this kind of institutional building has to be done at the state level. So this is the governing structure, which I think if we can implement, then I think we will be able to achieve the scale that we are looking for, rather than working in small one-off projects or something like that. So if we have this thing, right, I mean, this is like, this is a very circular loop, which will kind of reinforce every time it goes through that. And then I think we will see a much larger and bigger results. So we talked about this, and obviously, like, the funding is a big thing. And also, like, to make this happen, we need to bring all the stakeholders, whether it's the municipalities, the town planning, the real estate developers, contractors, citizens. And this framework, I think, with this framework, we will be able to bring together and achieve some real tangible, outcomes. So please, I think that this is a very, very important hierarchy structure, governing structure that if we can implement across different states, it will be quite useful. Now, I think, this is the cost benefit analysis. One big challenge is the funding part, right? Like everybody says, I mean, all these concepts are good, but how about the funding, money? Where will you get the money from? Now, if you look at this triangle, right, each entity, whether it's government, citizens, the developers, they do the cost benefit analysis. What will be the cost? What will be the benefit? So for example, for a consumer, like, for a buyer of a house or something like that, if there is this no water scarcity, less heating requirement, more greenery, then that's a big incentive for him to pay more. So that is from the consumer point of view. For the developers, we just talked in the previous slides, right? I mean, the green building, the concept of green building is catching up, and as the volumes go up, the cost of green products is coming down. So for them, the development cost will come down and much easier to sell whatever they build. That is for the developers. For the government, the management costs, like imagine you put a normal road and 2-3 rainfalls, the road is gone. So this continuous management costs of these roads, the flooding costs, the economic costs, instead of that, if you can come up with this, implement these concepts, that is the benefit from the government. So this cost benefit analysis, if we do implement, right, and also the cities can leverage, the government, the state governments can leverage the smart cities fund, the Amrut schemes, which will cover most of these projects. That is like, one source of funding. The second source is like, we have to leverage the private capital also. There is this, I mean, as Vijay mentioned that I'm a qualified independent director, right? The ESG, the concept of ESG, environment, social governance, it is catching up, not even catching up, I think it's already started. The regulator, SEBI, has mandated the top 1,000 listed companies. They have to produce, along with their annual reports, the ESG, the BRSR report also. So the regulation, the investor, they are looking for some green projects. And clearly, what all we talked about right now, everything falls under this, green projects. So to access this private capital, we need to create the demand for these green bonds. So people will invest in green bonds, and the banks which issue those green bonds will issue it to the developer, and developer will have to create these projects. So that is the whole, the loop, how these green bonds work. And then, like, there are some new financial tools to fund these projects, which is like, environment impact fund, bonds, pay per performance. I mean, it's not like you pay upfront. Once you define an outcome and that outcome is achieved, then you pay him. So there are various financial instruments that are there to support this kind of a funding. And the more important thing is, like, it is the, if you want to build smart and sustainable cities, we need smart people. We need people who can execute this kind of a complex projects, who can, raise the money, execute, and deliver on the outcomes. I think that is the crux. If we can build those capacities, if we have that kind of a motivation, commitment, I think then, what all we talked about, I think it's much, much easier achievable. So this is the cost benefit analysis. And so Yes, I think we are coming to the end of my presentation. This is the making of a spawn city where, like, you want to save every drop of water, both at the building level, at the ground level, infiltration, everything. So we need to start the city master plan, and then I think, like, once we have this, start at the unit level, at the community level, expand it, make it at the city level, and then move towards tier two, tier three, then definitely I think we will be able to help ourselves from this flooding. And second, we will be able to recharge all our lakes, ponds, and most importantly, like, whatever we want to achieve, that, like, net zero or the climate neutral. So all these things are possible. So with these few thoughts, I would like to pause, and looking forward for much interaction with some of the experts here. So before I kind of, like, pause, the climate is changing, and it's going to continue to change. There is no escape from this, as more and more vehicle pollution, other pollutions. We are going to see much more high intensity rains, and it's going to be high intensity rains, erratic rains, and no point in blaming the climate change and heavy downpour. I think it's important for us to uh, come up with solutions that are nature-based solutions, where what are all the concepts we have discussed. So with these thoughts, I think I would like to kind of pause, and let's build spawn cities, not concrete jungles.